wow, yo, yippee, yay, guys. It's pound number 48, and I'm super excited to be with you guys today. Today, we're going to have a special episode that's going to be focused on what is the future of crypto, where are we heading in terms of industry, in terms of markets, and as well learning about a bit about the basics. A great thing about today's episode as well is that we're actually be doing this as well with Jeremy, our CFO, or one of the smartest guys we have within the SwissBorg community. And for that, we're going to be answering a lot of questions that you probably have in your minds. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus Fazel, the proud founder and CEO of SwissBorg, always here to serve you. So before digging right into what's the future of crypto, let's go back to basics, right? Just go a few minutes of basics and then try to really get how to tame this market, how to build wealth on a sustainable way, and investing into the right cryptos with the right mindset. So let's talk about the technology and adoption. And then this is for skepticals. A lot of people always think about technology as something that is changing the habits. So it's something that you're usually afraid. And if you look at the century of technology and then the adoption of it, everyone always doubted technology, from the telephone, Western Union doubting it, automobile, where essentially Ford was saying this is just going to be a fad, it's a small fun thing to do. Computers, where IBM said they only see maybe 5 computers on top. Internet, that even the smartest people said it will crash in 2000 and won't go further. Or even the CEO of essentially Microsoft saying that iPhone is never going to be something that's going to have big market shares. And same with Bitcoin and with SwissBorg. People still have big doubts, and we see it in the general press because people are afraid of making the change. But there's one thing we know is that technology, if it's well built, if the infrastructure is well built and is solving big problems, well, we know it's going to be an adoption, and therefore it's a great place to not only use this technology, but to invest in it. If you get at the different versions of web, the red one was only about reading, right? It's about the Netscape, trying to be able to look at different blogs, but not participate. The second was really more about getting into YouTube, watching videos, was able to look at different blogs, but this time participating on social media and therefore advertising through it, being able to really make sure that the consumer is bringing a lot of data and monetizing on top of it. The Web3 is very, very different because it's not only read and write, but you could execute, but more importantly, you own essentially the data. You are a player essentially of the ecosystem, and therefore you're fairly rewarded. You're not just a slave providing data and getting a lot of advertising on top of it and letting shareholders from these big meta groups make it profitable. Here is how you create this peer-to-peer culture, but more importantly, how these communities together can monetize their own data in a super fair way. What is blockchain technology? It's one of the most fundamental infrastructure that is changing societies, where it enables people to connect on a peer-to-peer level, being able to exchange any goods, but giving as well value to any data. This data that has this double spending problem, right? If you send a picture to someone, you send it to everyone else. If you send crypto, essentially that's extracted from you, so you lose the rights of having essentially that NFT or that crypto that belong to you. So this is something very different. But what we like about blockchain technology, which is on top of it, enables you to create different decentralized applications. And this could be in a big range of things like video games, social media, decentralized financial applications, any type of things that could be done in a decentralized manner. And on top of what I love about blockchain, it has this governance model, enables these platforms to essentially be self-driven, be able to organize themselves within the users. The shareholders is the same thing. That's what I like the most. And to some extent, a lot of these initiatives looks like a bit like the Swiss model, having decentralized cantons that actually are able to pass laws by direct democracy. It's very, very, very much on direct democracy, I see. So in some way, blockchain has a bit taken the philosophy of what Switzerland has been able to put in place 150 years ago. But in other words, what is the technology of blockchain? Some people are very frightened about it, but essentially what it is this is a decentralized ledger where anyone could consult any transaction that has been done. These ledgers essentially are maintained by people that validate these transactions. This could be by miners. It could be done, if not by nodes that are run on proof of stake or on proof of work. So essentially, it's just an easy way to have a very great ledger, so counting measure that you see what's going in and out, what is being shared, what is being voted. Whatever it's done on the blockchain remains on the blockchain on a decentralized matter. And that's really what it is. What are cryptocurrencies? Is that anything to do about Roger Federer? Actually not. It's just that we people in Switzerland, we love Roger Federer. It's always good to put him and make that he's a champ. The alignment of crypto, right? We talked about the technology, how great is it. But if you look at traditional centralized organization, it's always very hard to find the perfect community. Like if you look at people in general, you have a king, right? Which is the CEO. And then you have the management, which is the queens. And then essentially you have employees, and then you have the users. And very often the company starts like that, right? So they try to create great products that are free whatsoever. They try to create really cool stuff. You look at Spotify, you look at Facebook, that you look at any different Uber, any different company is always the same. It solves a big problem and it creates a great community. And then the shareholders come in. The shareholders are like, okay, you now have 1 million users, 100 million users, 1 billion users. How do we monetize these users? And how do we extract more value, not for the users, but for ourselves as shareholders? And this is when the king started to answer to essentially his users, the people he loved the most, or essentially to the shareholders. And very often he has to essentially go into the shareholders and making sure he's creating only value or more value for the shareholders than after for the users. So the user experience doesn't go as greatly, more advertisement whatsoever, or what they're charging on Uber, the fees just go higher and higher and higher until the poor, unfortunately, taxi driver at Uber is just making 60 cents out of the dollar that's being made, and 40 cents goes essentially to the shareholders. And you see essentially the platform that is losing its importance and the loyalty of the users as well getting lost, and they move and migrate to a next company and the next platform. With crypto, things are very different. It doesn't really matter if you're an exchange, a developer, or miner, user, it doesn't really matter. You're all in charge essentially how to develop essentially these different decentralized applications, and you contribute in order to maximize growth within the ecosystem. There's no difference between user and a shareholder. And this is what is fundamentally the big change in terms of societies. Well, of course, if you look at cryptocurrencies, there's been probably only a very few of them that want to replace essentially the dollar or any different fiat. So you had Bitcoin first, then you had Litecoin, then you had different privacy coins like Monero, Zcash, and all these meme tokens. Their only goal is to make payments, right? And to replace essentially fiat currencies. But there's more than that. This has evolved with blockchains. Since 2015, with the launch of Ethereum and really creating this vision of Web3, there's been a lot of different blockchains that have been able to create this infrastructure that enable to build decentralized applications on it. So this is really the ground zero that enables you to essentially take part into the Web3. And investing in these ones, the great thing is that it's a bit like you're investing a bit into really infrastructures like the internet itself. So for those, there's going to be obviously more than that. Right now we have Solana that's growing a lot. We have Binance that was one of the big ones, and we have Polkadot and many others. Utility tokens. These are all about decentralized applications that you build on top of these blockchains. These ones really have essentially a token, which is like a membership token, and have a great usage within it. Think about it of like a membership of fitness, a sport club, or a membership of a golf club or whatsoever, and you have a lot of perks that gets with it. Like for example, a SwissBorg token, you become premium, your status evolves, you get superpowers within the ecosystem. Then you have security tokens. This could be anything that essentially enables you to bring some from the real concrete world into the Web3 world, right? So this could be gold, it could be stable coins, it could be shares, it could be derivatives, it could be real estate, it could be whatever you want that you want to bring and tokenize on the blockchain. Last but not least, the NFTs. NFTs explosion in 21 came from the fact that there's new video games that enables you to collect different things in these games, or essentially have a status and become essentially a Bored Ape or any different other type of NFT that gives you this really sense of ownership of being part of a community, or just the digital art that enables you to have a collection, or again, something a part of video games. So if you look at these 5 different brothers and sisters, right, of these crypto assets, you see there are a lot of different ones. And payment tokens will probably have a few of them. Blockchains will probably have, a dozen of them. Utility tokens, we could have millions and billions until there's different these type of applications. Security tokens to have more than 1 billion of those if things grows as we plan and all real world assets gets onto the blockchain. And the NFTs, there's an unstoppable amount of collection. We could talk about trillions and billion, more than that. So that's why you have all different type of crypto assets. So that's the other reason you really have to look what are the cryptos that you use the most and you think there's a future for it. Now I'm going to let the turn to actually talk about the macro view with our dear, wonderful Jeremy. That's our dear CFO, as you guys know, and that knows a lot of crypto knowledge, but as well financial knowledge too. So go for it, Jeremy.
So guys, why is it the perfect nexus? The perfect nexus because we are at the bottom of the cyclical trend. The business cycle has been horrible for the last 2 years, and we are strong believers that things will shift. But before looking into that, we still believe that the secular trend is playing out. As you can see, and I think we looked at this chart a few times already, and when you plot internet adoption and crypto adoption, you see that trend is very similar, and we are still very early, as we've been repeating again and again. And we know that the secular trend is something that is very, very strong. If you think about it, honestly, if tomorrow we go back to Neanderthal age, unless we go back to that, technology will remain a key component of our lives. And we strongly believe that crypto is going to be part of that. Just as a small, let's say, statistic, we always try to take some figures to illustrate what we say. In 2022, prices fell 80%, but users on crypto have grew 40%. If you think of that, we can get to a 15 trillion asset class value in the next 5 years when you add all the new crypto ecosystems that are being built, the crypto ecosystem that already exists that will continue to grow, the new form of tokenization like real world asset tokenized, the NFT technology being used for contract derivatives, etc., plus the CBDCs that will start getting into the ecosystems. All that combined offers us this huge forecasted growth for the crypto market. Still on the secular trend, when you look at the adoption, here it's the charts of NASDAQ and the chart of Bitcoin. It's log charts, so you can see that it takes out the big variations, but you see that the trend is clear. It is upside. And once again, unless we believe that we are going back to Neanderthal age, technology will continue to rise with all the new trends emerging now, AI, robotics, IoTs, the renewable energy, space, etc. Technology is for sure going to continue throughout the years. And crypto is one of the bricks of this technology. Last part on the secular trend. And this is one that is super important for us and that excites us a lot. It's the first time that people are before institutionals. We are here before big money, smart money is getting into the market. Why? Because it's been accessible to everyone, because it's been fractionable. And as you can see, the adoption is only starting now for the institutional players. This will enable us to profit from this huge injection of liquidity that will come into the system sooner or later. So here was the demonstration of the secular trend and this super powerful trend that we should not forget, and that makes us strong believers in the space and in the mission. Now let's look at the, let's say, cyclical nexus. As you know, 2022 or late 2021 till mid 2023 have been very tough years in terms of monetary cycles, with central banks around the world tightening as crazy to fight inflation, reducing liquidity in the system. And we know how crypto is very, very, very intimately linked to liquidity and to monetary policies. We strongly believe that the combination of monetary policies and the halving coincides for reasons that are a bit outside of anybody's control. But the 4-year cycle of Bitcoin and the 4-year cycle of monetary policies are coincidental, because average maturity of debt around the world is between 3 to 5 years, therefore 4 years on average. And halving for Bitcoin is around 4 years. We like to say that for all the reasons that Bitcoin is a scarce asset, fiat is not a scarce asset because of liquidity. So the halving is serving the scarcity of Bitcoin, and the liquidity cycles, so monetary debasement, injections of liquidity by central banks, are making for the opposite reasons, fiat not scarce and therefore worthless. We really, really believe this is two forces that play at the same time throughout these cycles. And what is beautiful is here we are looming to the next leg up in that. So as I was explaining, the planet in 2009 reset rate to 0. That was during the big financial crisis. And we have these 4 years cycle ever since. And these coincide with halving. The central bank's balance sheets, in a way, have a 4-year lag of the interest due from the previous cycle. And guess what? 2022, what was that? It was COVID. And I think we can say without any much doubt that we printed a shitload of money there. And so we need to refinance that in 2024, and we need to pay the interest of these debt in 2024. And there's no other way than putting the interest on the balance sheet and then rolling over the debt. And that's why we know that more liquidity and more monetary debasement will come in 2024, pushing crypto up. Just to give you one statistic, for 1 tick or 1 unit of liquidity in the system, gold goes up 1 unit. For 1 unit of liquidity in the system, crypto goes up 5 units. And this demonstrates how powerful liquidity is on crypto and why crypto suffered that much in 2022 when central banks tightened that much, but why crypto now will beneficiate that much in the next leg up when banks will start to ease again and to refinance all the debt of the world. So guys, after showing you all that on the crypto market outlook, we are very strong believers that we are at the perfect nexus. We have the secular trend, like we were discussing, like technology being more and more present in our lives, that will continue with the rise of AI, robotics, IoTs, all these fundamental changes that are being brought by technology, innovation, and crypto is a huge part of that. As well, the institutions coming into the crypto market with the Bitcoin ETF that is soon going to be approved, probably the Ethereum ETF that will as well be approved, and all the institutional money that will flow into the ecosystem and will cascade in the other ecosystems as well. You can see it as a trade. It's like we are opening the gates to foreign investment in a way. This is very important to understand that. The third element of this cycle is the monetary policies. As you know, we've been through 2 years of very harsh monetary policies with central banks around the world tightening like crazy. It is the time of liquidity coming back into the system, central banks easing or doing yield curve control, starting to be more accommodative. And this is super, super, super positive for crypto assets, for technology assets, for assets in general. But crypto assets are the most rapid horse in the race. That's all the reasons that will make crypto amazing in 2024. We strongly believe that it's very important to position ourselves to be able to grasp a maximum of that momentum. Of course, we always need to do things diligently, think of all the risk that this includes, think of all the risk management that you need to put in place in terms of your own asset allocation. But we are strong believers that it is a very good moment and it's an asymmetric trade to start entering the market now. And the last thing is our dear Bitcoin halving that will start probably in April, and that will be a great catalyst.
Thank you, Jeremy, about showing us the different trends. As you guys know, I think something that's very important is that we saw macro, the picture, how this is going to evolve. But I think what we have to understand is what are the catalysts that goes, right? If you guys remember what has happened in the first to 2012, there was video games that got to Bitcoin, video game players that got to Bitcoin, but as well as Silk Road. So we had a growth that was 150,000%. And you had as well some adoption from the institutional side, right? It went with the grayscale that started the first trust to invest. And essentially the market has lost 77%. Then the growth for the second a big cycle was essentially Ethereum with his ICOs. We got some institutional adoption even more there, right? That some companies, some banks in Switzerland, for example, took the big step to get into crypto, but in Singapore as well. And you saw the market that grew 4,500%. And it went up to, 775 billion total market cap in 2018. That's when our ICO happened as well. But then the market, it was brutal in 2018, right? In 2019, we lost 88%. If you look in 2020, essentially right after COVID, what Jeremy was explaining, essentially the market went up 2,300%. This is 23x, by the way. These are crazy numbers. It went to 3 trillion in total. And essentially, the big theme was DeFi and NFTs. So that's on the consumer side, right? The DeFi really was summer DeFi 2020 was the main catalyst. And then in early 21 started the NFTs craze. And the adoption from the institutional side was really the hedge funds. Hedge funds was really the ones that are like, okay, you know what? Bitcoin's an inflation hedge. I'm going to go into Bitcoin. It's just human capital. It's a smart play. And you saw Tudor and many other smart people that got on it. But again, quite brutal type of 2022. And now this last 2023, essentially, which was a drop of 71%. And essentially now we are here. We're here in 2023, end of 2023, and then there's going to be 2024 and 2025. And we believe that this market is going to go to 6 to 8 trillion market, right? So the growth could be at least 600% from what we're here today, which is crazy amounts when you think about it. And we believe that these are different reasons, which is the macro picture that just Jeremy explained, but adoption of new technology that could go through GameFi and then SocialFi. Next week, we'll be talking about how to build essentially our portfolio and essentially how can you do with a core satellite a strategy, make sure that you get into the right way, but as well, you'll be able to cash out in a good way too. So hope you guys enjoyed this one. Weekly NCHs and Borg data, sorry about that. 300 premium, which is good, but not fantastic. And pretty much the other thing is quite stable, which brings us to the community index, cast your score. Last week, we had a really great one, 7.6. What is this week? Unfortunately, a little bit lower, but remains still high, 5.7, which is good. Pretty much everything went slowly down, not as good as the previous week, unfortunately. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this format. I think it's extremely important to understand what is this market, but where we're heading. And it's going to be a bumpy ride. There's no doubt. There's going to be a lot of volatility that will remain. It's not going to go like this. That's not going to happen. It's going to be going ups and down. It's going to be fearful. It's going to be great moments, amazing moments. We're going to have a lot of weeks with the community index at 8 or 9 or 9.5. And, the Borg and Ethereum and Bitcoin and all these different cryptos will go through, rapid rises. And we know that. But I think so the fundamentals are very important to really understand how you build your wealth. How do you actually as well understand this and how you potentially get out of it. And this is really, I think so, how next week we are able to show the diversification tools that you could use, how you could really DCA, auto invest, and able to build your wealth on a sustainable and long-term perspective. Because there's no magic bullet to be a millionaire. You have to essentially compound a lot of great investments over time. You have to allocate this in a smart way, trade this in a smart way, and essentially be able to time these markets, which are not easy to do. But hopefully next week we'll get more into this and enable how people can get better in this game. As always, be healthy, be wealthy, love our Borg and equity. Take care, guys. Bye.
Through SwissBorg, all assets will have a fiat gateway. And here is the thing.
Premium features gives you zero fee trading.
It's an amazing fiat gateway.